This is the Galaxy S25, not the Ultra, not the Plus, and also not the Edge, just the good old plain and regular S25. And here's the thing, despite Samsung paying this particular lineup less and less attention year over year, lots of people still love them. And what's not to love? I mean, it's got a clean and modern design, it has 3 cameras, it also has a flagship chipset, and it's also compact, which is honestly a rare combination of features to find in this day and age. And so, as with last year, and the year before that, and the year before that one, I decided to put my one and only SIM card into it for an entire month to see whether it's a phone worth getting. Let's dive in. Now look, rather than rambling on about the entire phone, I thought it might make more sense to unpack everything that's new in comparison to last year's S24, and then we can go from there. And honestly, much like last year, there is not a lot that's new with the S25 this year either. From a design standpoint, the only differences are that 1, we have those black camera rings around the 3 cameras on the back, and 2, the side rails have what I would describe as a slightly heavier matte finish compared to the S24 side rails. Oh, and the bezels are apparently ever so slightly thinner too, but I mean, I can't really tell the difference, so we're talking very marginal differences here. It's also slightly lighter than last year's S24, weighing in at 162 grams versus 167 grams, and that means it's actually lighter than the brand new S25 Edge, believe it or not, but it is thicker than that phone, measuring 7.2 mil versus the Edge's 5.8. But I mean, it is still a very light and compact phone, which is becoming harder and harder to find these days. But that's it, and yes, it is a very, very similar phone to last year in terms of design, but I mean, what really is there to change? I think the only change that I'd like is for them to move away from this left-aligned camera unit design and switch to some sort of horizontal layout, which would hopefully mean that side-to-side wobble is significantly reduced when using the phone flat on a table. But aside from that, there is simply no denying that the phone does have a very clean and very modern design. Then we've got the internal specs. So this phone ships with the latest and greatest Snapdragon 8 Elite chipset, plus it has an upgraded CPU and GPU, and honestly, if nothing else, this particular upgrade in combination with One UI 7 has made it probably the most flawless phone that I've used this year as far as real-world performance goes. Actually, I scripted that part last week, and then 2 days ago, had an instance where every minute or so, the phone actually became quite laggy for about 10 seconds. And I even managed to capture some of it on camera, as you're seeing now, but thankfully a reboot did solve the issue, and it hadn't done it before then, and it hasn't done it since, so I'll let this one slide. But anyway, I hinted at this at the back end of my review of the Pixel 9a, but geez, I've loved coming back to One UI 7. Like, I feel like before One UI 7, One UI, whilst highly customizable, it was just never quite as fluid or as smooth compared to other OSs. But One UI 7 was the update that finally changed that. Plus, we still have all of those amazing customizations that we've known and loved for so long, thanks to the Good Lock app. And in fact, we've even got more advanced options now, like this DIY home screen, which is how I've got my app icons so close together on my home screen like this. We've also got these advanced gesture animation tuning settings, which I've made use of to increase the fluidity just that little bit. And it's honestly been so amazing coming back to a phone where I can use the default home screen launcher with a custom icon pack and a custom grid size layout without having to use third-party workarounds, meaning fluidity is kept to an absolute maximum. And performance isn't just tied to the home screen experience either. The cameras are also where I noticed the experience being incredibly reliable too. Like coming from the Pixel 9a, which was pretty good, but certainly not flawless, as well as the Nothing 3A Pro before that, which was noticeably weak in regards to camera app performance, it has been so refreshing using a camera app that just works. Now, unfortunately, that is where the praise in relation to the cameras kind of stops. As we all probably know by now, the cameras on this phone are completely unchanged, not just from last year's S24, not from the previous year's S23, but they are still exactly the same cameras as the ones found on the over 3-year-old S22, which itself already had very similar cameras to the S21 and S20 before it. And you absolutely notice the outdated cameras on this phone. Like, the pictures are not what I describe as bad, and they do get a job done, but they're also not fantastic either. And in fact, shots from the ultra-wide and 3x telephoto lens in particular are really only acceptable in the brightest of conditions, and as soon as you find yourself in even slightly less than optimal lighting conditions, the images and videos in particular do start falling apart. And it's an even sadder tale with the selfie camera. Like, it also hasn't been upgraded since the S22, and man, photos and even more noticeably videos, they do not look great when using this lens. And it's a real shame, because if you're someone who relies on shooting videos with the selfie camera so that you can make sure everything is framed correctly, then the S25 on its own actually becomes quite difficult to recommend. Now, if you happen to use any of the rear cameras instead, then you will get much better results, but the issue there is, how do you make sure that you stay in frame? Well, that's where today's video sponsor, Insta360, and their Flow 2 Pro gimbal comes in. And I'm actually gonna tell you about the gimbal while using it and the S25 to film this sponsor read. And the way that I'm able to keep myself in frame without being able to see the screen is that I'm actually using their optional AI tracker accessory, which automatically tracks me and keeps me in roughly the center of the frame. All I need to do is hold up my hand like this, and the tracker will grab onto me and start following me around. And you can actually achieve this same effect without the tracker, like I'm doing right now using the default Insta360 app. But the reason that I love using the AI tracker is that it means that I can use the stock camera app, which unlocks features like log shooting. And it also means that it works in other apps too, like Instagram or TikTok. And if I'm filming a scene like this, it'll even resume tracking after I'm blocked by something, and it won't get confused by other subjects walking into the scene. It'll remember me specifically, picking up right where it left off when I walk back into the scene. And then on top of capturing super smooth footage, the Flow 2 Pro also has an all-in-one design with a built-in selfie stick and tripod, and it's all contained within an incredibly compact form factor that folds away, making it super portable. It truly is the perfect gimbal for solo creators, so if you want to take your smartphone videos to the next level, check out the Flow 2 Pro using the first link down in the description below. Now look, I think in a vacuum, most people would be very content with the cameras on this phone, but when you've got competing phones coming out with seriously impressive camera configurations, it does make this phone just that little less easy to recommend. So then, aside from those minor differences in the design that I mentioned, as well as improved performance and software, are there any other changes with the S25 over the S24? Literally not one. The display, the fingerprint sensor, and the haptics, they are all completely unchanged. Although, to be fair, those three aspects are still pretty well industry leading, at least as far as I'm concerned. I do wish Samsung would have at least given the display that anti-reflective coating from the Ultra lineup, because that is a tangible improvement that would have given this phone just a little extra appeal, but alas, it wasn't to be. The other aspect that is unchanged, and this one is slightly more disappointing, but it's the battery. Now, I will say it has gotten slightly better over the course of the past month, where at the start, it rarely lasted a full day, but now it's usually sitting at about 20%, give or take, at the end of any given day. But I feel like if any phone would have benefited from the upgrade to a silicon carbon battery, it'd be this one. Well, this and the Edge, of course. There is just one other thing that I wanted to mention, which is that I think Samsung needs to fix how it transfers data from an older device when you're first setting up the phone. I feel like Google must have introduced some new restrictions with the Android 15, which conflict with how Samsung transfers apps, meaning for most of the apps that you transfer, when you first try and open them, you'll get redirected to this Play Store screen that says you need to reinstall it directly via the Play Store. So hopefully Samsung and Google can figure that out, because it's really, really annoying. Now, here's the thing. I could end this video by saying, gee, this phone has had almost no changes over the past 5 years, therefore you shouldn't get it. And to be honest, that probably is what I should say so that Samsung actually starts paying attention to this lineup again. But the fact of the matter is that despite how similar it is, I've actually still really, really enjoyed using this phone. I love its compact form factor, it's got a great display, fantastic haptics, a world-class fingerprint sensor, super fluid and reliable performance, okay cameras, but then the headlining feature is the software and just how customizable it is. Now, if you are seriously interested in getting this phone, then you might actually be better off looking into getting last year's S24 instead, because as I've said so many times throughout this video, it is virtually the exact same device for quite a bit less money. Now, Samsung, if you're watching, I want to emphasize you are not off the hook here. Please do not let another year go by with this lineup kind of getting lost by the wayside, because it is getting a bit ridiculous at this point. And if you need a cheat sheet, then at the very least, you got to improve all three cameras, you got to add that anti-reflective coating, and you got to add a silicon carbon battery. Oh, and a larger fingerprint sensor and a Class 3 face unlock system wouldn't go astray either. But those are my thoughts on the regular S25. Let me know what you think down in the comments, and if you enjoyed the video, then a sub would be greatly appreciated. Aside from that, thank you all very much for watching, and I will catch you later.